all eyes are set on Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan's visit to China. Hello and welcome to Views on News. I am Jawad Tehami. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan arrives in China on a 4-day official visit to meet the top Chinese leadership, including President Xi Jinping and Premier Li Keqiang, and he is being accompanied by a high-level delegation, and there is an expectation, according to the ministers, the cabinet members of Pakistan, there are a number of memoranda of understanding are going to be signed between Pakistan and China. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan is also going to attend the inaugural session, or the ceremony rather, of the Beijing Winter Olympic Games to express solidarity with China and its people when some Western countries have boycotted diplomatically these games. It has huge significance, and there are a lot of things which are going to be discussed during this visit of Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan with the top Chinese leadership. And Mr. Shaukat Tareen, the Finance Minister of Pakistan, has said that we are going to China to seek its help in a number of sectors. He has mentioned that include relocating the massive industry of China to Pakistan, and that will ultimately lead to job creation over here as well. And then it comes to trade, and then the CPEC, the information technology, the agriculture sector, and the other sectors that include energy as well. And to delve deeper into what significance does this particular visit of Prime Minister Imran Khan holds at this time when the dynamics of the world order are rapidly evolving. I am grateful to have Dr. Ziaul Haq, who is the Director, Center for Aerospace and Security Studies, in the studio, and Dr. Salman Shah, who is a former finance minister. He will be joining me, and Mr. Azaz Ahmad Chaudhary, former ambassador, he will also be joining me in today's show. I'll begin the discussion with you, Dr. Zia. So when we talk about the significance of Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan's visit to China, at this specific time when the dynamics of the global order are rapidly evolving, and when we hear Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi repeatedly saying that these dynamics are heading from geopolitics or geostrategy towards geoeconomics. So what do you say about that?
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Thank you, Mr. Jawad, for inviting me over. I think this particular visit of Prime Minister Imran Khan to China is an answer to those who were suggesting or claiming that Pakistan has been internationally isolated. I think this is an answer to them, because this significance of this visit at this time when the Western world had boycotted China's or the Beijing Winter Olympics is significant in a manner that world is now talking about it. I mean, the global media is at the moment not focused at the inaugural ceremony of Beijing Olympics, but the visit of the Prime Minister of Pakistan, because the visit is a signal to those who were saying that Pakistan will soon have to decide whether it is in the Chinese camp or it is in the Western camp. And Pakistan had been repeatedly saying that it does not believe in joining any camp, and it is not joining any camp. Rather, it has a special relationship with China, and it has maintained so. The beauty of PM Imran Khan's politics is that he doesn't hide anything to his chest. He has been repeatedly saying that Pakistan's economic future is linked with China, and he takes inspiration from Chinese development. He has repeatedly said that China has brought some 800 million people out of poverty over the last 40 years, and he is inspired with their development and the strategy that was adopted by respective Chinese leadership over the last 4 decades, and that's what he is going to follow. And beside attending the inaugural session,
Dr. Zia, this is a very important point that you just mentioned. And in his op-ed recently published on 31st of January in the Global Times, he said that China happens to be inspiration for Pakistan as it uplifted over 800 million people, to be exact, out of abject poverty. I'll go to Dr. Salman Shah. Dr. Salman, thank you for being at Views on News. When we talk about Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan's policy towards friendship with China, a couple of days before heading towards China, he gave a statement that the trip would take the strong bilateral ties that already existed between the two countries to new heights. So what are your expectations out of this visit?
Understand China currently the world's second largest economy, and in purchasing power parity, it is probably the largest economy in the world, and it is still growing very rapidly. And over the next decade or several decades, its economy is going to be the several times the economy of rest of the world combined. So it is something which is going to determine the future of the world, particularly in terms of economics, because China not only has a huge appetite for exports, it is also one of the world's largest importer of goods and services. It has more trading relationship with other countries compared to United States. And I think that in the future, if we talk about globalization, China is going to be the leader in terms of global trade and global relationships, global investment. And Pakistan has a very, very important relationship with China, which goes back right to the inception of the two countries' independence. And we have been collaborating strategically in political areas and in the military side. But now it is the time for economics. And so Pakistan's orientation towards geoeconomics after the end of the Afghan war is very, very timely, and it's the need of the hour. And so I think in that context, this visit is critical because not only Pakistan is sending a very strong signal that it is a strategic partner of China and it will stand together in this Olympic games with China, because the West at the official level have boycotted this. But also this whole area is important. CPEC is the flagship of the Chinese BRI initiative. And also CPEC is central to Central Asia, Western China, all the way up to Russia. And I think in that context, meeting with the President and Prime Minister of China, also he will probably be meeting other leaders from Central Asia and from Russia. And this will be a time when the whole thing will get kind of support at the highest level for integration, economic integration, trade, investment. And so I think in that context, that's very, very important. The number 2 point is...
Dr. Salman, what do you think of, you just alluded to the facts of CPEC being a very important project, in fact, being the flagship project of the BRI. There was a little bit of speculation regarding the slow pace of CPEC in Pakistan. We have seen that there are a lot of projects which have been completed under the umbrella of this CPEC project. But despite the pandemic, the pace was not slowed down, and the speculation was negated categorically by Pakistan's Foreign Office as well. But we have seen Prime Minister Imran Khan repeatedly saying that the focus of the CPEC from road infrastructure is going to happen towards industrialization, energy, and agriculture. Do you think this particular shift actually made those people speculate about the slow pace of this project?
Well, I think making this shift was the most important and critical aspect of CPEC because it's not just about infrastructure, it is about economic networking and economic relationships. So that has to be very, very good. And that means that the Chinese corporate sector and the Chinese private sector has to get together with the Pakistani private sector and be able to uh, invest in Pakistan for manufacturing on a global scale, not only for the domestic markets in Pakistan, but also for the export markets back into China and to other countries of the world. So, in a way, Pakistan becomes a hub for manufacturing by Chinese investors and by other global players as well. And that is something which for Pakistan is extremely important. Now, this is not so simple as making a road or making a port or making an airport. This means that you have to make an ecosystem in which these companies can come here, see the opportunities, do business over here without any red tape, and make good profits and be able to do all kinds of businesses which a businessman would expect to do. So I think in that sense, making this system work, it's a bit slow, but it is now ready. So all our economic zones, they have been established and they are fully operational, so they can come and invest there. And even if they don't want to invest in a special economic zone, they can invest anywhere in Pakistan, and they will be most welcome to
I
do that.
beg your pardon for interruption. I have taken your point well. I want to continue the discussion with Dr. Zia from this very important point that you've just mentioned, that the Chinese companies and businesses need to come to invest in Pakistan. And in that way, Pakistan will become a manufacturing hub. So Dr. Zia, as Mr. Shaukat Tareen, Finance Minister, has also alluded to the fact that they will urge the Chinese leadership to relocate massive industries in Pakistan. So what's going to be the outcome of that? Of course, there is going to be manufacturing. And with that, what factors could be in the favor of Pakistan with that relocation?
Yeah, I think this is very important, and this is going to be the game changer actually. Pakistan was never interested in a direct investment like that, and Pakistan was always interested in getting the industry relocated in Pakistan's newly established industrial zones like Rashakai and Faisalabad, etc. And that is why it initially appeared to have slowed down, because when you are building the road infrastructures, bridges or trains or the projects like energy projects, etc., they are visible on ground and people can say that the development is taking place. However, when these projects, like you had to first establish the industrial zone, provide necessary infrastructure over there like the electricity, the water, the gas and all those road infrastructure, and then invite the investors to relocate their industry. That is why it initially appeared to have slowed down. Secondly,
so Dr. Zia, beg your pardon for your interruption. I'm joined by another participant, Mr. Aizaz Ahmed Chaudhry. I'll move to him. I will definitely carry on with the discussion from this very point, how this relocation of the industries into Pakistan from China is going to add to the economic prosperity in Pakistan. Mr. Aizaz Ahmed Chaudhry, former ambassador, thank you very much for your time at Views on News. Starting off the discussion with you, with the significance of this visit, as you've been the former ambassador to the US as well, you've seen diplomacy working firsthand, and we see now when Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan is there in Beijing to attend the inaugural session of the Beijing Winter Olympics. We have seen sports had been a unifying factor. There has been sort of sports diplomacy, but on the contrary, what we see that the US-led Western powers have diplomatically boycotted. But do you think that boycott seems to be justified?
Well, my sense is that the visit of the Prime Minister to China is being viewed in two lenses. One from the strategic perspective, the other from the economic point of view. From the strategic perspective, I have read many analyses and many opinions where people think that since Pakistan has accepted to join the Winter Olympics in Beijing, despite the fact that the United States is doing a diplomatic boycott, that means that Pakistan is moving closer to China and away from the US. I honestly do not think that such a conclusion should be drawn. We must remember that China is one country which throughout 7 decades has always stood with Pakistan, has always respected the sovereignty, territorial integrity of Pakistan, has always supported Pakistan's positions at all international forums. And Pakistan too has been respecting the core interests of China. So it should not come as any surprise to anyone that Pakistan responded positively to this invitation. But does that mean that Pakistan is pulling away from the United States? Not at all. I don't think so. I think in these age and time, every country is maintaining its own relations with every other country based on the commonality of interests. I give you a very concrete example of India, which is now a strategic partner of the United States, and yet it is also having cordial relations, very close relations with Russia, which is at daggers drawn with the United States over Ukraine. So the world has moved into a mode where you make issue-based alliances and you work only to promote your own national interest. So from strategic perspective, I think it is important to clarify to the detractors of Pakistan that this visit will cement Pakistan-China relations, no doubt. But it is not a zero-sum for our relations with the United States. It should not be seen in that respect.
A similar sort of a statement by U.S. official Ned Price has been also witnessed today, that when he was asked about Pakistan's Prime Minister's visit to China, he said it happens to be more in advantage for Pakistan to be a strategic partner with the U.S. So how do you analyze that statement?
Absolutely. I have seen that, and I think that is also a kind of response to those who think that since Pakistan it did not join the diplomacy summit and is democracy summit, democracy summit, and has gone for Winter Olympics, they should read this statement. United States want to maintain good relations with Pakistan, and Pakistan also wants to maintain and must maintain, in my own humble view, good relations with the United States. The United States are already the largest destination for Pakistani exports. We have had decades-long relationship, and therefore there's no reason why Pakistan and United States should not stay engaged. Yes, we can have our differences. Yes, our relationship has seen ups and downs, but there is a will and there is a desire on both sides.
So, Mr. Chaudhary, do you think you alluded to the fact that Pakistan didn't attend the Democracy Summit, which was hosted by the US? Now, the policymakers, of course, would be thinking in the US that they didn't come to attend the Democracy Summit, which was hosted by us, and now they have gone to attend the Beijing Winter Olympics. Does that symbolize for some of the policymakers in the US and in the Western countries that despite repeated sayings by Prime Minister Imran Khan that Pakistan is not going to be the part of any bloc on the pattern of the Cold War? So does that send out a message that these visits to China might negate that statement of Prime Minister Imran Khan himself?
Does not. This does not. You see, the analyses that I am reading from the United States are very different from the speculation which is being perpetuated by some analysts here in Pakistan. United States is quite comfortable because the Democracy Summit was, driven more by politics than by values. politics between Republicans and Democrats. They had invited Taiwan and not China. So there was also a political angle to it. So if Pakistan does not, then they had invited India, which is carrying out all kinds of heavy-handedness in Jammu and Kashmir and also elsewhere in India. So I don't think Pakistan's decision not to participate in the democracy summit has been viewed in the U.S. as very negatively. It's only here in Pakistan that some analysts are making too much out of this. I think the United States is engaged with Pakistan, should stay engaged with Pakistan, and there is no point in us, blowing it out of proportion. That's not, at least that's my take on it.
Mr. Chaudhary, I'll come to a very important point regarding the project which is very closer to the heart of Pakistani authorities as well as Pakistanis, especially also about, for the Chinese people and the Chinese authorities as well, that is CPEC. When we talk about Dr. Mueed Yusuf's recent visit to Afghanistan, he said the Afghan authorities are showing their keen interest in becoming the part of the CPEC, and China at the same time wants to expand CPEC. With the resurgence of some attacks, the relation of which has been established now with the insurgent elements that are operating with their handlers in Afghanistan. They are trying to sabotage peace and stability in Balochistan. So how do you see, amid this resurgence of insurgent activities on the soil of Pakistan, the Afghan soil being used against Pakistan, do you think that would make Chinese and Pakistani authorities a little skeptic about expanding CPEC towards Afghanistan?
I think any would be scared of terrorism resurging in Afghanistan and resurging in Pakistan. In Pakistan, we see all our people, our law enforcement authorities, our armed forces, the terrorism are defeated by us. But we also see that ever since we have come to Afghanistan, and even before that, there were ongoing cases which the terrorist elements were sort of using to dig in, to take root. One of them, of course, is the TLP, and of course there are others too. Now, the point is that if you are expecting investments from any country, including China, then of course you need an environment which is free of terrorism. And that's why our government is very, very, seriously determined to make sure that these terrorist incidents that we just saw in Noshki and Panjgur and elsewhere do not proliferate. We control them because we want to have investments in our country, more so from China, our friend. In the second phase of CPEC, we had already seen considerable investment in infrastructure and energy. Now we were moving towards industrialization and, of course, to agriculture and socio-economic development. There's a lot on the plate, and I'm sure with Prime Minister's visit there will be further energy in all this. But your question
Mr. Chaudhary,
regarding
one last point, I want your take on this. This visit perhaps has irritated the top policy makers over there in India. Now, a leader of the Congress, Rahul Gandhi, in the lower house of the parliament has given a statement. He has lambasted Prime Minister Modi for his flawed policy that has led Pakistan and China even more closer. And he went on to say, he didn't mince his words. He says that India stands completely isolated and surrounded. So there's a lot of worry across the border when we talk about the Indian politicians regarding Pakistan and China relationship.
Well, let me first complete what I was about to say on CPEC extension to Afghanistan that was there in your question. I am very confident that the Afghans would be very, very keen for it. But for that to happen, I think the Taliban government would need to make sure that they would they would honor all the commitments that they had made in their deal with the U.S. They would meet all the expectations from Pakistan and all neighboring countries, because only then we can have a regular, solid economic relationship with them free of UN sanctions. So I hope that Taliban government would make efforts, special efforts, to enable extension of CPEC to Afghanistan, for which both China and Pakistan, I think, are keen and have been keen for many, many years now. Now coming to your second question about the Rahul Gandhi statement, and earlier also somebody asked me about this. My sense is that one should not read too much into the domestic politics of India, because the statements that matter to us are the statements coming out of the Indian government. Now, they have their own, naturally, Congress and BJP are political opponents, and there is a viewpoint that that Pakistan has drawn closer to China because of India's policies, or India leading towards the United States. I believe that such a zero-sum attitude should not be adopted by us. Let them say what they say. I don't really care. What matters to us is that China is a friend, will remain a friend, and we should have a deep, solid, mutually beneficial relationship with China, regardless of what India thinks or does not think. But at the same time, we should also have good, solid relationship with the United States. We should not view it as a zero-sum, that since the United States has good relations with India, it means that Pakistan cannot have good relations with the United States. This is not how the world these days is identifying its priorities and its approach. So my sense is that we should not worry about this statement. We should maintain our cordial relations with China, and of course make every effort for good relations with the United States, which is an important country of this world.
So, Dr. Zia, I'll come to you. We'll resume the discussion regarding the economic aspect of what exactly is going to be discussed between Pakistan's Prime Minister and Chinese President and Premier Li Keqiang, of course. So, you were giving us a couple of points regarding the relocation of the massive industries from China to Pakistan.
Yeah, I'll just get back to the same point. However, just 2 points from the previous discussions. This is not the first time that Pakistan has responded to China in times of crisis. If you remember, in the initial days of COVID-19, when the entire world was against China and blaming China for the virus, President Arif Alvi paid a goodwill visit to China, and that went very well, and China responded in kind, sending us all types of assistance during our fight of COVID-19. Secondly, this relocation is very important in the sense that Pakistan has a very vibrant, hard-working manpower available, and at a much cheaper rate than the international market. All we need is to develop their skills and vocational training and employ them, because we need the trained manpower to carry this the third industrial revolution in Pakistan carry forward. And with the help of Chinese industry being relocated into our newly established industrial zone, I think it will be a game changer. And Pakistan will be able to then export many of these industrial goods and services, which will basically be an investment from Chinese investors and then onwards to the Central Asia and the Middle East. And just an example, that Pakistan has started to export the made in Pakistan cell phones within just 2 years, and the COVID kits also, and the ventilators also. I mean, within 2 years. 2 years back we were importing all these equipment. So Pakistani manpower is very vibrant. Just look at Middle East today. It's the Pakistani manpower's contribution in building the entire Middle East, be it the unskilled workers or the skilled workers. So Pakistan has the capacity to raise its levels of industrialization, provided the investment comes. and investment is coming. And this visit of the Prime Minister is going to be a game changer in the sense that it will woo lot of Chinese investors in relocating their industries and very useful industries to our newly established industrial zone. Likewise, cooperation in the agriculture, because we need to learn from China how to increase the yields of our agriculture goods, because we are some 20 million people and
Dr.
we
Saeed,
need
come
more
to
food.
this aspect of cooperation in the agriculture field between Pakistan and China. Dr. Salman, the stats show that the exports to China from Pakistan surged in 2021 to 69%. It was $3.6 billion. And the total trade stood at $27.82 billion. So that is the data by General Administration of Customs of China. As per your expertise, what could be those potential sectors or areas in which the exports of Pakistan to China could be further enhanced?
I think sky is the limit as far as the Chinese market is concerned. It is the world's largest domestic market. If we can actually understand China, our business community is very much oriented towards Europe and America, because for the last 70 years, that's where they have traded. They know how to deal with Western banking system, the Western trading systems, and they buy technology from the West, and our people, our managers, they are trained in the West. We send our children to universities in the West. But now it is China where we have to turn our attention to, and that means that as a nation, all our business people must understand the market in China. Our students should be in Chinese universities, learning Chinese and learning the technologies which China has mastered. And now China has everything. I mean, they have technology of all levels, from basic technology to the most sophisticated artificial intelligence. I mean, you name it, China has it in pharmaceuticals, in engineering, in electronics, in metallurgy. I mean, everything is available there. So we have to understand what is China, what do you do, how do you operate in China, what are the distribution systems of China, how do you create marketing systems over there. So it is a learning process, and we will learn very quickly. I think as these visits, as they are focused on economics now, lots of people in the delegation with Prime Minister would be from the Board of Investment and from the private sector, the corporate sector. They will be meeting with businesses over there, and then I think the road shows will start. Businesses from China will start visiting Pakistan. So we have to showcase Pakistan, and at the same time, we have to understand the Chinese probably don't understand our way of doing things. Maybe they don't understand our rules and regulations and the financial systems, etc. So I think we have to create an environment in which they feel comfortable investing here, and China has to create an environment in which our people are very comfortable doing business in China. And I think those relationships at the business to business level are very, very critical. So in that sense, I think we need information centers, particularly in our large cities like Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad, where we can actually, the common man and the business community, they can actually go and see what is the system of China and what kind of people they have, what kind of businesses they are, the corporates, how large they are, how do they do their banking, etc. So I think we have a long way to go in this respect, but we have a head start because we have a free trade agreement with them. which is very good. It had a few problems, but those have been sorted out. So anybody now investing in Pakistan can benefit from that FTA. And even American companies who come to Pakistan, they can manufacture here and export to China at zero duty. So I think that gives us a very big advantage. And in my mind, that this opening up of economic kind of focus in China-Pakistan relationship is really going to be a game changer for Pakistan. And I hope we are able to take full benefit of all of this because the Chinese market will continue to grow. They are going to continue to become rich. Right now, their per capita income is around $10,000. And if you look at the American per capita income of around $70,000 to $80,000, the Chinese will ultimately reach that level. And when they reach that level, they will at least be 4 to 5 times the size of, as I said earlier, the size of the world economy. So I think this is something which Pakistan needs to cultivate, and then we have to harvest the dividends from this. And we are ideally located for this. If you look at Gwadar and Karachi, they are now part of
Touch
the
upon
Chinese.
another very important aspect that has been termed as the top priority by Advisor to Prime Minister on Commerce and Textiles, Abdul Daud, that happens to be agriculture. And likewise, Finance Minister Shaukat Tareen has also alluded to the fact that Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan will seek China's help in the agriculture sector. Dr. Zia, how can Pakistan benefit from the Chinese expertise of advanced farming and bringing its agriculture sector at par with the world standard?
Yeah, this is going to be very significant. Why? Because Prime Minister Imran Khan has always stated that he is inspired with the Chinese development and bringing people out of poverty. And the first thing was food security that China achieved for such a large population, and that was primarily because of their agricultural research that they launched throughout their country. And they were able to increase the per acre yield in almost all the crops, and especially all the cash crops, and that's what Pakistan want to learn out of them. But China is also very keen to teach and there is already cooperation is started between Pakistan Agriculture Research Centers and the Chinese research centers, and they are very keen to teach Pakistan advanced farming, in which the irrigation systems are being revamped, the seeds are revamped, and the new seeds are coming in, and the new techniques are coming in. They are coming and teaching our farmers how to sow the seeds and how to reap the benefits and how to increase the yield per acre, because we also have a very big population. And secondly, the same harvest once increased, and once we achieve the food security in those crops, we are going to re-export them to China. That's what is going to be the game changer, because China is hungry for all kinds of food items and the small industrial items. That is where we are going to not only learn but earn also from the same lessons that China is going to give us, and the same things are going to be exported to other countries and the more lucrative markets of the Middle East and onwards to Europe. That is where there is a good scope available, because we have the land available, we have the manpower available, and we are basically an agricultural society. So the people are used to working on farms. This is not going to be something new for us. Maybe the industrial workers will need training.
We
but
do have land, we have that human resource over here in Pakistan, and of course Pakistan can benefit from the agricultural advancement of China. Dr. Ziaul Haq, Director Center for Aerospace and Security Studies, thank you very much for being at Views on News. And Dr. Salman Shah, former Finance Minister, you're with us. Thank you for your time. And Mr. Azaz Ahmed Chaudhary, former Ambassador, he was also joining us in today's show. thank you, all of you gentlemen, for your time at PTV World. We really appreciate that. With this, we come to the end of today's discussion. And until the next episode with a new topic and a deeper analysis, we'll be back with you. Until then, it's goodbye for me and from my production team. Thank you for watching.